Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to be talking about the AutoDesk layoffs, turning 3D scans into modifiable CAD models, and then going into how to actually start a 3D business, and of course, your questions from the comments. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Teleport. Teleport is our print-on-demand app that allows you to plug any of your e-commerce stores directly into our 3D print farms. All you have to do is sign up for Teleport, plug it into your store, and then whenever you get an order, we will print and ship that item directly to your customer for you. No longer do you have to worry about packing up boxes and figuring out shipping and figuring out what the greatest printer is. All you have to do is upload a file, and then we take care of the rest so you can take care of your customers and create awesome products. So check out Teleport today at slantpod.com. That's slantpod.com. All right, moving into the news. Excuse me. First of all, AutoDesk has announced it will cut 1,350 jobs as part of a worldwide restructuring plan. They outlined the move in its fourth quarter financial report, stating that it would be reallocating internal resources towards what is believed are critical areas, such as industry, clouds, and artificial intelligence. They had a strong results, including a revenue increase of 12% to $1.64 billion. But this restructuring will affect 9% of the workforce. The quote is, Autodesk is focused on the convergence of design and making in the cloud enabled by platform, industry clouds. I'm sorry. We expect consistent growth momentum and disciplined execution reinforced by persistent share repurchases to deliver substantial shareholder value over the years. Autodesk is restructuring because they've got a bunch of stuff that they don't need. And they're trimming it out. This is what everybody's doing, interest rates, all the rest of it. Autodesk has a lot of different areas. And as software grows, CAD software is weird because even though it has a half-life on it, it has a longer half-life than most softwares, especially consumer softwares. So there's probably things that are just aging out to where they're like, we don't need to work with that anymore. And quite frankly, AI is going to mess with it. So let's go ahead and ixnay those teams and that kind of stuff. So it is unfortunate for those folks. But as a company, it's not that surprising. 10% is kind of a deep cut, but it's got to be done. Okay, next piece of news. Backflip AI model turns 3D scans into 3D printable CAD files in minutes. This is per TCT. Its new AI foundation model that can automatically turn 3D scan data into 3D models for manufacturing and 3D printing or conventional machining. The startup is from Markforged co-founders Greg Mark and Dave Menheim. The new tools, it's a fully featured plugin to SolidWorks. And right here, they're saying this is aimed at tackling what Backflip describes as a $50 billion in losses per year problem faced by manufacturers due to unexpected downtime when sourcing spare parts for unexpected breaks in production lines. So they are designing this so that you can take 3D scan data and then turn it into an actual CAD model that can both be modified, tuned, and actually refined. What a lot of people don't realize is that 3D scans are generally not very good. And they're a point cloud, just a mess of 3D information, and it's a blob that looks kind of like your part. And admittedly, a lot of people have good cleanup on these. But it's never been modifiable. You could get like an STL or an OBJ out of it, maybe a step file if you're really lucky. But you can't really, there's a huge amount of cleanup on it, and then you can't modify it or refine the hole or anything else. You can sculpt it, but you can't like set dimensions for it. If they have a thing that is able to take a scan of an object and turn it into a modifiable 3D model inside of SolidWorks, that is really, really useful. They're overestimating the market as far as $50 billion in losses because you can't find the part. You can math to that, but it's not really true. Because that's a little bit of a thing, but it's still really valuable. There's still $1 billion opportunity here. Because yes, cleaning up 3D scan data is huge. If they can get it down to where they can go from photos, which they already have, in their main Backflip has a consumer version of their app where you can generate photos and generate 3D models of creatures and critters and that kind of stuff, and it works quite well. That is astoundingly close to this, because a point cloud of a 3D model is really similar to the point cloud that you get from 3D model generators now, which generate a point cloud from 360 AI generated images. So this is a very cohesive thing to where it's not a big old outreach for them, or it's not a big old stretch for them to be doing this kind of stuff. And in fact, it's better because you have a baseline model that's there, and then your AI, which knows what stuff should be shaped like, can refine it and then turn it into a modifiable model. So that's cool. 3D printing for data centers. New report sees exponential growth for AM through 2033. Oh, yeah, this was put into news. This isn't really news. This is projection and speculation and everything else, and I wanted to add some color to it. It is a report that since data centers are going gangbusters right now because of AI, additive should be able to ride along with it because there's going to be all this growth in data centers. Here is the color to it. I don't know. I haven't read the report. I don't care. Data centers, 3D printing, where it has superpowers in data centers are heat exchangers, especially as all these data centers move towards water cooled. This is the one place where metal 3D printing can have really high margins and really high volume. Because if you have a $60,000 GPU on a rack, you don't really care about a $200 heat sink on there that allows it to actually function at peak capacity. So really good margins, very small parts, really high value because 3D printed heat exchangers are far more efficient than almost any other method of doing it. That being said, I'll bet 3D printing doesn't grab it, even though I know for a fact that companies like Facebook are doing 3D printed heat exchangers in their data centers. They actively do research and development on this and deployment, large-scale deployment of it. I'm no longer under NDA from that. That's 3 or 4 years ago that information is coming from. So the data centers definitely want to use this because it's a better way of doing that sort of equipment because you just have way better heat transfer rates, and it matters. But it doesn't. I'm going to bet that the industry doesn't jump on it very well, even though it's right there, because metal 3D printing right now is in a real hiatus kind of a moment because nobody really has scale. Desktop metal is trying to survive. They're not interested in growth stuff right at the moment. They're trying to get purchased. So I'm going to bet that there won't be a lot of leverage on this. Maybe by 2028, someone may come through and jump on this, but I kind of doubt it. Okay, then. Moving on to company updates. Teleport. Keep it up. All orders right now are shipping in about 4 days. There's a few folks who move really big volume through to where it might stretch out to like 5 days. But for the most part, most orders are in like the 2 to 4 day range right at the moment. That's the processing and shipping time. Working to get that down lower. We think that will demonstrably the last like move and piece in that puzzle should be breaking loose here in the next week. So yes, there should be a radical drop in teleport processing times coming up very soon. After that, we're doing a bunch of back-end work on teleport right at the moment, which you won't see in the front end. But as soon as that's done, the front end, the visible part of teleport will start evolving very quickly. And we've got a laundry list of things and feedback from all of you all that we are working to get that all put together, or to implement many of those feature requests to the degree that they improve the platform and that kind of stuff. One thing with international shipping, there have been a few notes about international shipping. International shipping right now is a tad too expensive. This is partially because we got tariffs and people have said like it's cheaper to ship to the United States than for the United States to ship back. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of your fault because your countries have tariffs and that kind of thing. But like shipping out of the United States can be quite expensive to certain locales. Because those locales have their own import fees and VAT taxes and blah, 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 to where it just becomes very expensive to ship to it. I'll talk about this a little bit more because I know there's a question about this. But international shipping right now is really kind of up in the air because you have tariff situations, you have general international relations as it is. And lately you've had a lot of strikes in places. So international shipping has been really hard to make fast because it's just, everything is breaking all the time. And we can't affect it. This is the thing. It's always interesting to me when I get feedback from a user of like, it took 10 days in shipping or something like that. I'm like, we don't control the shipper. We can't do anything about that. We pushed it out the door the time we had with the shipping service that we say we ship with. But then the shipping service held on to it, and then customs holds on to it, and then all the rest of the things. We can't affect that. We wish we could, and we're working on figuring out how we can. But man, the shipping industry is such a weird spot. And like, by the way, in areas of innovation or places that people can push on, there's value there to be had. But yes, Teleport right now, no major updates right at the moment. We have a few programs and partnerships that are coming down probably in the next few weeks. We're gauging that with managing the existing growth that we have. But yeah, Teleport right now, we're keeping the wheels on the plane as we're falling out of the sky. That's a bad analogy. We're building the car as we're going down the highway. So we don't want to put more passengers in until we're ready for that. Teleport is working very stably for the most part. Like there's not a lot of bugs or anything like that. But we're not adding in new features quite yet, because adding new features would add more users. And that's fine, but we want to make sure everybody's having a good experience right off the bat right now. So we're making sure that everything is stable and existing users are happy. It has been amazing. We've had multiple $500,000 to $1 million businesses be created on Teleport already in the first few months. So it's really exciting to see and really cool to see and really fun to work with those guys. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. With Teleport, though, we have the Reddit page up, and we're starting to populate that, and there's really good discussions over there. It's our 3D print entrepreneurs. You should go subscribe to there. There will be updates to Teleport for that, discussion around it. People are available. Also, the Teleport Discord will be shutting down if it's not already down by the time this goes down. So that won't be a venue anymore. Discord's a terrible customer support type of platform. But yeah, we'll be moving to Reddit, and then we're working on implementing Intercom with Teleport itself, which will also help with customer support tickets and those kind of things. And then inside of Teleport, one of the features that I have announced and will announce again, instant refund. So if an order is off, you just hit refund or reship. There'll be basically those two options. And if you want, and if you depending on what you need done, of like, oh, the order was canceled or the order was late or something like that, you can hit cancel, or it's like something was off with the order, reship it again, and we'll reship it again. And with the reship, it gets priority access inside of queue, so it happens out faster, all those kind of things. So that will be being released on Teleport pretty darn soon. Okay, updates on Tangled. Tangled is caught up. Like right at the moment, as of filming right now, orders are shipping in 1 to 2 business days for everybody, even non-members. Non-members get second tier access because you're not a member. So members always get priority access to inventory and shipping and that kind of stuff. So if you get a non-member order, it can sit there for a while because we got to ship members first. But as I say this, yes, we're ahead. We have inventory stuff is standing by. Somebody's going to come by and order like a half pallet of it or something like that and jack up the whole thing. We'll see where it is. Oh, Tangled. Interesting conversation here. I'm throwing this out there in the ether. Like Tangled is a fully formed, functional, and operational business. We like it fine, and yes, it's useful to Slant 3D and that kind of stuff in a number of different ways, and we want to continue to be included with it. But like, we should be focusing on Teleport and that kind of stuff. So like, if there is a partner out there who like wants to like create a strategic partnership or dual partnership or something with Tangled, shoot us an email at info@slant3d.com. This would be outsourcing production or taking over marketing or that kind of stuff, because there's a roadmap for Tangled that's really, really interesting. Number one, we have members, we have existing paying users, and we have a volume of sales already. We have one color and only members. So a partner would enable both more colors more quickly within reason. Again, we're going to have our thumb on that because Tangled has a core focus. But Tangled with memberships, increasing the value of that membership can be done through partnering with 3D designers so that there are files to print, having a retail store of like exclusive items and merchandise and cool tools and that kind of stuff that members have access to. So building out the retail operations of Tangled can be done by a partner. And by the way, this partner doesn't have to be a filament manufacturer or an existing business. Literally, if there was a college kid or an MBA student or something like that who is like, I'd be willing to, depending on the person's competence, I'm willing to hand this business off to a person or like give a manager to it or like create a separate entity to where somebody else can be fully responsible for that business while still kind of within the Slant 3D ecosystem. But they can run with it. And then they're not restricted by the Slant 3D targets and goals and that kind of stuff. They get to use Slant 3D resources around like our extrusion lines and our marketing platforms and that kind of stuff. But yeah, Tangled kind of needs spun off. So whether that's another filament company that's kind of interested in it or somebody who's getting out of school and wants to do something, and we effectively invest in you by handing over an existing operational business that you are expected to grow. Those are all thoughts we're having. For everybody who's a normal Tangled consumer, Tangled's not going anywhere. But like in order for it to keep on scaling, there's just places where we can focus time to where Tangled can be a distraction because it's a break-even kind of a business, even though it could be more profitable, but it takes time to get it to more profitable, and we have other places to be working. So yeah, that's all kind of thinking out loud. If somebody's interested in being actively involved in Tangled in like operations or in growing it, reach out and let us know, and we'll see what it is. It wouldn't be an employee deal. I mean, it's like a direct partnership. It's not we're hiring a manager for Tangled. That's not what it is. It is, yeah, it's a partnership situation. Okay. But that's Tangled. All right, then. Tangled, I don't think there's any other questions with Tangled. Yeah, everything with Tangled's fine. Okay. The discussion topic, and then at the very end, we'll get into questions after discussion topic. What does it take to start a 3D printing business? This is more of like a video for the Slant POD channel. Go subscribe if you haven't already. The Slant POD channel, we starting up a 3D printing business, starting up any business. As part of Teleport, we end up engaging with, talking to a lot of people who are aspiring entrepreneurs who are like, I want to start up the business. And I think the fundamental thing that defines someone who is successful from someone who's not is someone who is successful does it. And let me say this like really clearly. Right now, we have dozens of people who are, I'm thinking of starting a business. I want to start a business, but I need to know pricing, and I need to know what the right products are, and I need to know what the shipping costs are, and I need to know this, that, and the other thing. Those people almost never launch because they're so in the weeds around the details of it that they don't actually do it. Because first of all, you have to do it. You have to start. And second of all, whatever your presumptions are, they are going to change. The cost of shipping is going to be different next week because tariffs will change, or a war will start, or somebody doesn't like you, or you'll move, or the company will just increase their prices for whatever reason. There's no reason to do that. You just have to start taking the hits. What are the right products? You have no idea, and no one else does either. You need to start making products and find out what people want. You can start off with a decent idea and a concept of it, but if you need to be told what the good stuff is, you're not going to survive, because as soon as the world changes again, and the world changes fast, you're going to get killed. So, with starting a business, the main thing is to just flip and start. Say, okay, I'm going to give this a year or 2 or 3. I'm going to show up every day, and I'm going to do it. If you want to do it as a side hustle, that's fine, but you need to just do it. And you also need to commit to some sort of a budget. You need to be like, I'm going to spend $100 to start this business. I'm going to spend $1,000 to start this business, whatever that is. And then you start spending that money. Another thing that stops people from getting started is just being scared of spending anything at all. And they're like, oh, it costs $10 to do that. I can't possibly do that. I'm not profitable. I'm like, if you're not profitable paying for $10, you don't have a business. I don't know what you have, but you're not doing anything at all. You're not even selling on Etsy at that point. For example, an Etsy store. The average Etsy store does $2,500 a month per month throughout the entire year. That's the average Etsy store, which means you have below average and above average. There's a lot of multi-million-dollar Etsy stores out there, and there's a lot of zero Etsy stores out there. As a real core example, the need to start, if your product is good on Etsy, you will see sales within the first week because Etsy wants to show your product to people who want it. This is what people don't understand. This applies to YouTube too. If you're making stuff for people, the entire internet is built around getting your thing in front of the person who wants it. If your thing does not sell, no one wants it. Literally, if you launch a product and within a month you don't have any sales, kill the thing, move on to the next thing. You have to be very dispassionate about this. So start up the business, find out if anybody wants it as quickly as possible, and then kill it or change or adjust. And you start learning. The biggest thing with business is figuring out how to learn. That's the biggest thing stopping you from growing. That's the biggest thing stopping you from doing sales. Most people don't grow and don't get sales because they don't change and learn. They do the same thing every day, the way they think business operates, of like, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to wait until somebody discovers me. No, that's not how it works. Everybody's discovered you already and they didn't want to look at you. That's the problem. So don't blame external things. Get started, get it out there. It's literally free. It's effectively free. You can start a 3D printing business for less than $100, less than $50. You don't even need a printer anymore. You could literally start a 3D printing business on Teleport by downloading models that obviously 3D print because they're 3D printing models, upload them to Teleport, create some product listings on Etsy, do those product listings better than other people who got those files. If you don't sell anything in a week, you don't know how to market or sell stuff. So you need to learn how to do that. Or design your thing, get it posted, print it yourself, whatever it was. Literally less than $50 to start a business. If you cannot afford that, you need to go drive Uber for a couple of hours and get it. Whatever it takes to get started. Those are not hard things. $50 is not a big barrier to entry if you're starting a business. Do it. Share it on Facebook. Share it around. Do some sweat work. Like, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen. You're not going to automatically sell a million things tomorrow. But you have to start and you have to do it. You have to start and you have to do it. And then when it doesn't work, you learn why did it not work. And you learn why it didn't work by doing something else and saying that worked a little bit better or that worked worse. And then you start stabbing in the dark until you start to see a light through the wall. And when you see a light through the wall, you take a sledgehammer to it. So that's how you get started with a 3D printing business. You flip and start. The vast majority of people think about the great idea. They draw notebook sketches. They get their patents. They make sure NDAs are signed, all the rest. You want to know a fascinating statistic? Here, inside of our mass production 3D printing service, we have production clients. Literally, less than 1% of clients who request an NDA actually end up paying any money at all. Universally. This is across both corporate, Fortune 500 companies, and little inventors. The NDA is almost a leading indicator of complete waste of time. Literally, if it was not for the Fortune 500 clients who ask us to sign an NDA, we would consider it a flag. And like, oh, they requested an NDA, don't pick up the phone, don't call them. If we did not have the corporate clients who have to follow a process and have to have an NDA out there, we wouldn't deal with it at all. Because people who care about the NDA don't realize what the actual problem is. No one cares about your idea at all. Most certainly not us. We're a contract manufacturer. If we were stealing all your ideas, number one, we wouldn't be in business because everybody knows we stole our ideas. And why the hell would we be still doing service work for people if we were so good at stealing everybody's ideas and making money from them? The NDA is stupid. Side topic, watch the past video. I talk about NDAs and other ones. But literally, if people spend so much time preparing and analyzing and getting ready and never doing it, they never do it. It feels safe to make a lot of noise and make a lot of wood chips and that kind of stuff. And like, oh, I'm getting ready to start the business and I'm perfecting the Etsy page and so on and so forth. No, fucking launch the thing. It will never be perfect. It will never be done. And quite frankly, all of your analysis and presumptions are probably wrong. Get out there, start doing something and learning from it. Success in business is how fast do you learn? Do you get better quicker than you burn money? That is literally the thing. How many, literally, Sam Altman, now the CEO of OpenAI, he had a way of saying this. He's like, yes, the success of the startup is about rate of iteration. Then how many tests can you, it might not be Sam, it might have actually been Paul Graham, but how many tests can you do in a day? So here at Slant 3D, I know that we experiment with something new somewhere between 5 and 10 times per week. There are at least 5 to 10 experiments running per week. We're going to try this new tool in post-processing. We're going to try these new settings on the machines. We're going to try this new workflow over here, whatever it was. This is frustrating for people because stuff is changing all the time. But we evolve really, really quickly. And I always tell guys, like, we should look back 6 months from now at what we were doing and what we're doing right now, and we should be disgusted with ourselves 6 months ago. And if that starts turning into we're disgusted with ourselves 3 years ago, but not 6 months ago, we're not moving fast enough. So that rate of iteration. Oh, you want to see a great example of rate of iteration? The YouTube channel, this YouTube channel. We started, we did something. Scroll all the way back in our videos to the very first ones. They were a selfie cam in front of a bookshelf in an office. No edit, talking about stuff. And then we moved to a slightly different set. And then we started messing with some formats. And we made 7 videos a week. And we learned how to do it to where now you scroll through our videos and they're pretty tight. And the thumbnails are pretty universal. And there's a style to it all. That's the rate of iteration. But we've made 650 videos on this channel or something to get to this point. It's evolution. It's slow and there's a lot of iterations. So start. You can't evolve if you don't exist. So start existing. The difference between nothing and something is infinite. The difference between something, it's okay, and something really good is much shorter. So get to something. Okay, that's how you start a business. Okay, questions. So, if you have a question for the podcast, go ahead and put question, and then your question in the comments of this video, and we will review them. Question number 1 from last week by the random username, I'm sorry. Question, hey Gabe, any thoughts about open sourcing your FDM printer design? Nope, never gonna do it. The reason we're not is because it's not really necessarily through competition. A lot of people think it's through competition. There's a component of that, but first of all, if anybody wanted to, if a competitor wanted to steal our machines, quite frankly, our machines are kind of on display in our videos. And if the competitor is not able to identify what's special about them, well, there's software stuff too. So I guess there are a reasonable number of things that are subtle and hidden inside of them. So you might not be able to get it from the video. But even if we open sourced it, if the competitor is using our ideas and that's their way of operating, who knows more about how it works, us or them? We do. And if a competitor wants to use our current released version or something, they're automatically 6 months behind of wherever we are. So like right now we're working on the version 17 of our machines. I'm sorry, version 18 is a different thing. Version 17 of our machines, which by the way, iteration, again, calling back to the other thing. Version 17 is such a departure from our existing machines and just wildly more durable. We're trying to get it into production. The main thing is that we're just having to focus on scale rather than like development of more machines. So that's the thing. But no, we're never going to open source our design because yes, there are lessons in it that are doing it. Number 2, you open source a project and you get a free job because people will download the open source file, start building it themselves. And they're like, how do I wire this up? And I was like, not our problem. It's an open source project, deal with it. But that creates a bad reputation. So if we're not going to support the project, why would we release the project? Because it would just create a bad user experience for the people who are wanting to like build one for themselves or something like that. So it's just, there's no good in it for us, and there's no good for it in the world either. If you're wanting a printer, go get a Bamboo Lab. one that's specifically designed for that. Ours are industrial machinery. Nobody wants that. And if you're building a print farm, again, our machines are so tightly connected to our operation system, to Kraken, to the rest of it, that it's not useful to you outside of this box. So it's a moot point. Question from at John Lind. Will we see a Slant 3D print farm within EU in 25 or 26? I can't release a timeline, but yes, we've been working on another print farm, a couple other print farms, in one in the EU. Near future, I'm just gonna say that. Okay, let's see here. Question. What is your stance on multicolor printing in commercial products? Multicolor printing is a gimmick, has been a gimmick, always will be a gimmick. Multicolor printing is fine right now while everybody's doing toys and fidgets or whatever else it was, but multicolor printing is not necessary and is wasteful and everything else. I don't even mean like the current operational format of it. Multicolor printing just simply does not work at scale. It does not scale at all. And everybody's like, I got 100 3D printers doing it. Like, no, yeah, that's not scale. That's boutique artisan business. 100 3D printers is not scale. That is small business. Make 1 million parts in a day, and then let me know what you think of multicolor printing. That's the difference. Multicolor printing doesn't need to exist because it's never been necessary before. Injection molders have been able to do multicolor printing for a long time through overmolding and that kind of stuff, and through painting. And the vast majority of products don't use it. You don't need it. It is not necessary to create really compelling products. And again, most of the times when products need lots of colors, the product design is garbage. So again, outside of little fidget lizards, multicolor printing just doesn't have much validity from either a functional standpoint or a actual even consumer product standpoint, because you can design perfectly good little fidget lizards that are all single color. Now, I know I'm biased about this because Slant 3D does not do multicolor, but we made that decision years ago before we were fully not multicolor. We were like, do we need to support multicolor? And like we were like, no, it is terrible. It does not work. It does not scale for a lot of reasons I'm not going to get into right now. But yeah, multicolor printing, we don't care about. And it is not necessary in order to create multi-million-dollar products. Maybe someday in the future, once we've made all the single color parts, if that's even possible, then multicolor could potentially come out if it finds a better way of getting it done. But the current methodologies of multicolor printing are garbage. Just are. Question, do you anticipate Tangled or Teleport ever skipping over commoditized polymers like PETG and ABS for more durable variants like PCTG and ASA? For Teleport will absolutely introduce new materials, but again, in a very controlled sort of a way. The thing is, like with Teleport, we have a huge amount of customer, like we know what our customers are selling. And we know what is being sold, even if people are not on Teleport. Like, we just know how to find this information out. So you don't throw this stuff out there and say, like, I hope somebody uses this. No, you say, like, everybody's using this. Let's now create an alternative for them so that, oh, all these people are using ASA. We should present ASA so all those people can use us doing ASA. So that's the decision of it. It literally has nothing to do with what our opinion of the material is. It has to do with what do customers want. PCTG, customers do not want it because, number one, it's called PCTG. I don't know if anybody from Ascentium or 3D Fuel or any of the other PCTG manufacturers are watching right now, but that's the fucking worst branding name on the planet. And I'm sorry to be that bad about it, but like PETG, ASA, ABS, these are injection molding terms left over from an engineering engineering-focused industry. They're terrible names. If I am the normal consumer, I have no idea in hell what PCTG or ASA is. ASA, literally a better branded name for ASA would be Big Strong Sunproof plastic. PCTG could be Uber Durable something like that. And literally, if you want to now take that stupid brand name, which is still better than PCTG, and then improve it, you could take PCTG, which is durable, reliable, pretty darn printable, and it's just kind of an ABS alternative, and you could just call it Mega Plastic. And that's a better brand name than the last one I came up with. Mega Plastic, Uber Strong, Hyper Tough. You can't use that brand name, that's somebody else's. But you get the idea of what I'm saying here. Have the brand name at least describe the filament, or turn the brand name into something interesting so that people can remember it. Literally, if you just called PCTG Azul, at least then people can almost remember that name. Or freaking Strong, and you take you just do STRNG or something like that, and get rid of the vowel, like an old Twitter or something. That's I have no idea what PCTG is. That is the chemical formula for the plastic. Why the hell is it the brand name? No one at Apple is saying, telling you the freaking, it's so frustrating. ABS, ASA are grandfathered in, so is PETG. They have a brand identity inside of the 3D printing world already, so fine. PCTG does not. So they had a chance to actually have a brand identity, and they blew it. Where was I going with that? What users want? Users want a particular material. We will never do ABS, I can guarantee that. ABS is a dead material. It's stupid. It never works. It's not useful for anything. There's 12 better alternatives out there, such as PCTG. So no, we will never do ABS. We will introduce the materials inside a teleport that are needed by customers. So like literally last year, we introduced a number of new colors because there was a customer that needed 10 colors and they were moving tens of thousands of dollars per month. So if you, real easy to get an opinion into a company, move money through the company. There's lots of people who always have advice and input and gripes when they've spent $10 on a thing. But like that's an opinion that we have to take with a grain of salt because it's not amenable. Again, back to existing or not existing. A potential entrepreneur's opinion is not the same as an existing operator's opinion. If we have one user who's doing $1 million through us annually or something on Teleport, we're going to ask them, what do you want first? And then we're going to implement that first because we know that they have the ability to use it, as opposed to all the people who are about to use it but haven't actually done anything yet. So their opinion doesn't matter because they don't actually know what they need either because they haven't sold anything yet. That's just getting feedback from customers of what new materials we'll introduce. Question, will there be refill option for Tangled? Nope, there will not be. Refill, we still have spoolless like on roadmap, but that is secondary to other stuff because the ROI or the efficiency gains from spoolless are not as large as the efficiency gains from other parts of the process. A refill, I mean like refilling dead spools is what I'm referring to there. But shipping spools back and that kind of stuff, that does not work. It just does not. It doesn't pencil. We did the experiment. We messed with it. We used other people's spools. We've used rejected spools, that kind of stuff. It doesn't work. It can't work. It doesn't have enough scale. It's not reliable enough supply chain. It doesn't have enough consistency. Refilling spools doesn't work. As far as spool refills, it's fine. But like the cost and the waste of a filament spool is so small. Refills are kind of a way to make yourself feel good, but they're also cumbersome and unreliable. It's less relevant to us because we're basically going to phase out the 1 kg spools on Tangled. So the 3 kg spools cannot be refill spools. They just don't hold shape. Oh, this comment references Keene Village Plastics, who did refills and stuff. We actually invented the first commercially used reusable filament spool with Keene Village Plastics way back in freaking 2018 or something. Piece of history there. Okay, I have a question about Teleport. I need a part printed with 5 outside layers and not mostly hollow part. I don't see anything with that in the Teleport site. So the walls inside of Teleport are 1 millimeter thick. The infill is 25%. Layer height is 0.2. Supports on overhangs over 45. No brim. Those are the settings. There is no modification of settings inside of Teleport. That might become available at some point in the future. I do not have any insight on that at the moment. Because again, the settings do not matter. Literally. Like the top selling products right now inside of Teleport are way simpler and way more robust than you might imagine. Like every like mean comment that you've ever seen about a 3D print, not relevant to these prints at all. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And quite frankly, if your part is dependent upon slicer settings, you shouldn't be selling it through a service, because no service will match your print settings, and you have an artisan part. Your part's not robust enough. If you have to rely on the slicer, your design needs to be improved so that you don't have to rely on the slicer. Because the slicers will never be able to catch everything that you need, and you will never have the flexibility that you need if you're having to tune every part of the slicer. Yeah. Question: is there ever going to be a chance you release either design of your printers or sell your printer? Yeah, that's the open source releasing the design of the printers. We're never going to sell our printer. No, we'll never sell our printer. We've had this conversation with investors and other people like, Gabe, you're good at building print farms. Why don't you sell print farms? And I'm like, well, number one, there are not enough print farms out there to pay the bills. And number two, in order to run a print farm effectively, you have to know how to run a print farm. I don't believe in the black box version of this where it's like we're going to drop a print farm into your factory and it's going to magically work for you. There's a way of doing that. There's definitely a roadmap to build that, and there's companies working on that kind of stuff. I don't believe in it because in order to get to like really good scale and really good efficiency, you have to know how to run the print farm. And I think having someone has deep expertise in how to run that type of a facility is way more valuable than someone who has deep expertise in how to fix that machine inside of your facility. I think there's more market for us as a pure print farm service play than anything else. Because again, like with Teleport, we're infrastructure. People will be able to build really nifty businesses on top of us in a way that people were able to build really nifty companies off top of AWS once servers were cheap to get started and then scale with you without you having to build that infrastructure yourself. The fact that people don't have to build print farms anymore is a really big deal. Let's see here. Create a idea. 3D printer Uber. Create a service where everyday people with 3D printers can print, package, and ship an object for a fee. Yes, that's 3D Hubs. 3D Hubs built that back in 2014, I feel like, and failed. And they got pulled and wrapped up into Proto Labs. Yeah, Proto Labs, I think, ended up buying Hubs. But 3D Hubs, you have no control of quality control, and I don't care if everybody has a Bamboo Lab machine. They'll wrap it wrong. The crowdsourced manufacturing, I think, is a dumb idea. Because manufacturing, by its very nature, cannot be crowdsourced. It requires expertise and process control, and someone in their garage will not have either of those. And there's no way to inflict it on you unless we have a robot right there whipping them, saying, hey, no, that box is wrong. And I don't think the world's ready for that. Will you be opening a print farm in Australia? Shipping costs are terrible from USA. Great stuff. I agree, shipping costs are terrible from the USA. We're getting that fixed. Our flat rate shipping is going to be coming out fairly soon for Teleport, other feature. That will fix some of the international shipping. We're effectively going to eat that cost and reduce the cost of shipping to Australia and Europe. Though I would say that the killer app for Teleport is not international shipping. It's shipping inside the United States. If you're an international seller, put your listings for U.S. buyers on Teleport. That way you don't have international shipping. To have us ship to Australia, especially if you're already based in Australia, probably is the best idea. Take care of your local orders, and then, when we get a print farm there, then Teleport can expand to there. Australia is definitely on the roadmap, but again, we have to prioritize that kind of stuff. But yes, we're fixing the bad international shipping stuff as fast as we can. The short-term issue with 3D printing is print quality and aesthetics are relatively poor. That is incorrect. No final customer of 3D printed parts cares that it's 3D printed. Just the same way I don't care that my shoes were injection molded or foam injection molded or pressure molded or stamped or CNC'd, whatever it was. No normal product purchaser cares how it was made, what machine you used. The whole idea that 3D printing is either a brand attribute or a brand negative is wrong. No one cares. Make a good product. Design the item well so that the 3D printed item is good and people are fine with it. 3D printed or not is irrelevant so long as the item is good. And by that I mean like design it so that it is functional and useful and that kind of stuff. No one on God's green earth cares that it has layer lines. No one thinks that that is bad unless you make it look explicitly gross by like doing stupid things like have a really shallow curve on the top of an oblong thing and you didn't want the stair stepping on it. That kind of thing. No customer cares that an item is 3D printed. Just make a good 3D printed item. That argument only exists inside of the 3D printing industry. No one else cares. No one else on the planet cares about layer lines at all. Same way people don't care that wood has layer lines. Wood is for some reason a premium material, but lots of layer lines in there. Very inconsistent. I've seen knotty branches go for $10,000 just because they're knotty, which a purist would say that's not square and straight. Very low tolerance, those trees. Anyhow. Question: will you ever build multi-material machines for two-color prints and teleport? Yeah, no. Question: how do you actually make a good product that is going to sell well? This kind of goes back to earlier in the conversation. Start, do it. Learn what the product is that people want. If you have no idea, solve a problem for yourself, solve a problem for a friend. And do it well. And that is a product that will sell. If you solve a problem, that is a product that people will buy. If that solution is painful, or that problem is painful enough for the person. If you're doing art, if you're like, what is the wiglet that will sell here? Or the fidget toy that's going to sell here? I have no idea. Those are fashion things. I have no idea what shirt people are going to want to wear next year. And designers don't either. They just create a new line and people buy it and run with it. And then some people might wear it or not. And then they run with whatever people actually buy. There's not a way of knowing a fashion type of item. I don't know if the iPhone will sell well. But I know that people need iPhones. And I know my phone broke and I need a new phone. So I'm going to go buy an iPhone. So that's fulfilling a need. The easiest way to build a successful product is solve a problem for a user. If you're in the realm of taste or fashion, that's much harder. It's way harder. So still solve a problem. What do you think about the new TPU from Bamboo? It sounds exactly like what you suggested before, a more rigid TPU that could possibly be used for structural parts. Yeah. I haven't been able to mess with their TPU, but it's 95A, which is not harder than the 95As that have already been out there. A lot of people, I think, are scared of rigid TPUs because it's not different enough from ASA in order to differentiate itself, because TPU has a brand identity of being soft and flexible. So if you start selling a really hard TPU, people are like, why is the TPU so hard? So again, bad branding. You'd want to turn it, you wouldn't want to call it hard TPU. You'd want to call it uber tough or whatever it was, give it a brand name. It's a step in the right direction. Bamboo has been very progressive with materials. And Bamboo doesn't get enough credit for doing all the obvious things really well. Like making the TPU, making filament reasonably affordable while still making it compatible with the machines. Everybody else who did ecosystem plays of like my filament with my machine always made it such a pain. Like, oh yeah, you can buy our filament, but our filament costs 2 times what everybody else's filament cost. Well, I want the open source filament then. I'm going to jailbreak your thing. Bamboo Lab sells their filament for very affordable prices, $15, $20, whatever else it was, and it's compatible with their machines, which means that now they are the crack that water wants to run into. It is easier to use their material. It's not more expensive. There's no additional pain for using it. There's actually less pain for using it. You know it's from them, you know it works well, and you know there's a standard of quality attached to Bamboo. So you have more incentive to buy it. There was an estimation that Bamboo is going to sell $75 million of filament this year, which is bananas. But that's like how much filament can be sold, because they're only like a quarter of the filament being sold in a year. So there's about $250 million worth of 3D printer filament sold per year. That's a real thing. And considering how simple it is to manufacture filament, it's amazing to me that more people aren't on this. Like, dirty little secret with Tangled. 10-year strategy on that, it's a really cool business because consumer 3D printers are growing at 25% a year. The materials are going to have to grow with that, and the filament is a consumable. Like, it's a good business. It has solid business fundamentals. Even though right now it's not really terribly profitable, but it is high growth, and it gets more efficient the bigger it goes. When can we learn more about Kraken as a main topic? Kraken will probably never be a main topic. It's an internal piece of software. It's not very useful to people. The rules for this channel is the stuff we talk about has to be useful to the people watching. Kraken is our internal production control software that decides, it's basically it's our print farm software. So it decides what machine gets what part, when, and so on and so forth. Other questions? I think we're to the bottom of it here. Are you gonna print batteries? Oh, no, wait a second here. One more. What's the next material coming to Tangled? We bought 50 pallets of PLA. Each pallet is 1,600 pounds. So you do the math. We're going to burn through that first. But no, the next material for Tangled is going to likely be PETG, because PETG lets us continue to reduce price, and PETG is not a fully utilized material yet. There's a thing we want to do with our PETG, though, that eliminates the layer lines. But we'll see where that is. There's just Tangled is tough to expand because it has a lot of CapEx with it. Like another extruder is not a cheap thing. And again, Tangled is not a high profit margin business. So the payback periods for those really expensive machines are long, which means that you effectively have to get a loan for it and pay it off over 1, 2, 3 years or whatever it was, and have a 10-year loan in order to make it viable. But we don't want more loans. And Tangled isn't that great of a business yet. But again, like Tangled needs more team members on it. It's kind of like a side hustle inside of Slant 3D right now. And this goes back to like we're looking for like partnership opportunities, that kind of stuff. Somebody who wants to take the brand and run with it, either inside of Slant 3D or as a joint venture or something like that. So it can grow more because it can break loose and do other stuff. It's just like we don't have time for it. Yeah, China produced over 5 million 3D printers in the last couple of years, but where does 90% of those printers end up? In the landfill? Maybe. Who knows? Printers, here's the thing. If you watch the how printers sales go, they spike at Christmas every year, every single year. Printers are a toy. Printers are a gift that people give to people. So they're most definitely as a toy or a gift. Yeah, they're probably fairly disposable, especially the $200 ones. But I don't know, 90% of it is not correct. That's not the number that end up in the landfill or to go unused. That's far less than that. But yeah, anyhow. Other questions? Let's see here. That's it. That's the last of the questions. Good stuff, guys. Well, yeah, if you have other questions, go ahead and comment down below with question : what your question is, and we will cover it at next week's podcast. But until then, have a great week, everybody.